He wears his heart on his sleeve, up to against you on his side. Welcome, Ned!
What is this nonsense? Are you going to introduce me every time? No one's interested in me. Right, now you've introduced the guy who introduces the guys, I'll introduce the guy who actually came to see. So, can you please welcome to stage Nicholas Brendon? I don't know why he's got to introduce me. It's like this whole... It's like a flashback of last time when you were suffering on jet lag to that. Right, okay, so we've got roving mics in the audience now, so if you want to ask a question, get your hands in the air, and we've got...
And wave them like it's called.
Exactly. And we will have the mic brought to you. So who can kick us off then with the first question?
It's weird not having a mic. Like, I'm used to having a mic.
Yeah.
I use it as a prop.
This one there, if you want that as well, you have to turn it on. Just as a prop.
Alright, I'm ready.
It doesn't work. Okay, here's our first question coming up. Leah's on the move. Which might just be kind of a stroll, I don't know. No? Here's the question. Oh, now we have to pass it down.
What's not necessarily the funniest, but the strangest thing that has ever happened on like set?
On what set? On a set?
Preferably but any
Buffy.
set in general.
That you can talk about.
Yeah, no. Well, on Buffy was strange because we were always behind, and after season 1, like the show was so ambitious. We were just so our line producer named Garrett just would not allow us to laugh at all. There was a time that when we were shooting, I was doing a show called Kitchen Confidential, and it was the pilot, and me and John Cho were sharing. We were in the same trailer, sharing each other. It's called a two-banger. And Bradley Cooper was on set, so we just took a bunch of toilet paper and just wrapped the shit out of his car because, for 2 reasons. He kept talking about how he was getting his new Mercedes dropped off, and his BMW was going away. So we're like, we have to wrap that then. And also, we were just bored as hell. Better than smoking, I suppose. Cigarettes. I'm not talking about pole. I mean, that doesn't say anything wrong with smoking pole. I just don't smoke pole. Some of my best friends smoke pole.
A lot of things are coming back, like the X-Files, etc. Do you think you'll come back with Buffy?
This is the voice of God.
From what I understand, and it makes sense now, and I'm not sure if I should talk about it, but I will. There is the people who own the rights to Buffy, Fran and Kaz Kazooie, want too much money. That's why there hasn't been, and I just found this out in Germany last year with James. So like any Buffy spinoff, that's why it hasn't happened, because they wanted too much money. Anything with Buffy, so, I think it's sad because the fans really want to see it. They made a lot of money on that show, and I don't think they expected to. So it's just, I wish they would kind of just release that a little bit so we could, at least give Joss the opportunity to do it. But they tried to reboot it, and that didn't work. So it's kind of, I would love for it to happen. It's totally out of my hands. I know that's crazy. Because you think I'm in control. Now you mind. I would love to do it. And I know that the girls said that they would do it as well. So I wish that I had a better answer for you than that. outside of the cities to be a great thing. And I wish it wasn't. By the way, this is my first Q&A and my first con with the Santa Claus here. You're welcome.
How's that going?
You know what happened? I'm sure most of you know I got arrested 2 months ago in Florida. So I had to stay in Florida for a month. Because that's what happens.
You in disguise?
No, I didn't know that I was going to be gone that long, and I left my beard trimmers at home. So I'm like, screw this, so I didn't cut my hair. I was going to go full Howard Hughes and not cut my nails or just anything on me. But then also, if you go full Howard Hughes, you have to break off needles in your arm too. And I wasn't prepared to do that. So, and then I went home and I'm like, people were kind of like the beard. And I'm like, all right, I'll keep the beard for a bit, so you are welcome.
I was going to say, if they did go down the reboot, with Buffy, how would you feel about that scene? Presumably, new actors would take it on.
Oh, I think it was a horrible idea.
Yeah.
And so did everybody else. Because I think Warner Bros. Was going to do it. And then I think they just got a lot of backlash.
Because people want to see the original.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the reboot of Star Wars has shown that the episode 7, that people want to see the original people back.
Yeah, but it's like, but now you got Harrison Ford coming back, so it's like you can't pretend that we weren't there.
Yeah. Okay, another question from me.
Just like my dad did. You're my son. Papa. My dad loves me. I mean, he called me a mistake, but whatever.
Quick, that's the question.
Any chance you can give my sister your phone number?
Where is it?
She made you outside before and she's had fangirl on.
Oh, we took the picture? Yeah, later.
Cheers, man.
All right, 424-270. Those are the first 6. You guys forgot the last 4. I'll answer the phone.
People just be randomly ringing those numbers out of the line.
Well, I had to change my phone number. I change it once a year because I'm crazy like that. And the old guy who got my number, they didn't, because I guess if you change it, they hold it for like a month and then they read you. And this guy's like, this Asian guy that lives in like Inglewood. He's like, who is this? He gets so many phone calls and texts for me still. Where now it's just comical,
Right, another question from the crowd. Get your hands in the air. That's it, make you run, make you work for it. Number 6.
Do you read the comic books to see what you get up to after the show ended?
Well, I mean, I did. I'm writing them this year. It's season 10. The first 5, Christos Gage and I are writing them together. And the first 5, the volume went New York Times bestseller. So, yeah. Which is, I was talking to a friend of mine at a restaurant in Santa Monica, and he's writing a script. And I'm like, what's it about? I can help, just help you flesh it out a little bit. And he's like, I have to keep it close. I'm like, well, I'm a writer too. He's like, well, everybody in this town's a writer. And I think it had just come out that I was a New York Times. I'm like, I'm a New York Times best-selling writer. And I was able to read. It was a nice punctuation. So yes, I do read them. When they took me on as a writer, I wasn't reading them before. But I do now, and I know what's going on. Because I'm the
We were talking a little bit before about the process that you go through to something like that, so tell us a little bit about behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Spoilers, obviously.
Well, of writing?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing was every season when we do we outline what's going to happen for like season 11 or season 10. That's what we're doing now. There's a writer summit, so all the writers, we sit in a circle in a hotel in West Hollywood, and Joss comes, and it's this weird, it's just amalgamation of ideas, and then forms this idea circle in the middle. Now I'm sure I've taken a lot of mushrooms and LSD, but it was real, man. It was real. Where I stopped eating, and I'm like, you guys do see this ball, right? Because we changed the whole thing, like with the vampire, just how that whole thing was wiped. It's like clean, and And I'm like, wow, it's a really magical experience. When you have that many talented people in a room, and it's weird. Yeah.
Brendon.
And Josh was saying, great guys, but where's Buffy? This is called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's very close to that character. Like, he's like, that's fine, tertiary. What's it called again?
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
really hung on to the character, isn't he? And because there was obviously the film before the TV series, which was not very good.
Well, some people like it.
Yeah, well, it's got so
But,
like...
yeah, I mean, some people like it better than the show, and I'm like, we can't be friends, you know?
It's a different beast, basically.
It's not because I wasn't in it, it's just because, one of the reasons that Joss is such a, and I hate to use this word, but it applies in this instance. He's a word Nazi, where, like, you cannot not say his words. I mean, I'm talking about, like, a predicate, like an a the. It's like if the emotion is there, and if you just accidentally missed it, he's like, I put that there for a reason. Where I've been shows where it's like, if you get around what they're saying, you can go, but I was trained, I cannot. You have to say exactly what's on the page.
But presumably with that film, they were just sort of...
They were very loosey-goosey about it, and that's what pissed them off. You can't talk about, like, Donald Sutherland. You just can't mention his name. And also, but the final straw was Alien Resurrection. That's where he's like, when I sign a contract now, it's my dialogue or it's no dialogue.
But he kind of...
Which is then why Hutch happened.
Yeah.
Nothing's here.
Rebel. Never mind. Next question from
It was a ball of energy circle, man.
Well, we've got another one. Leah's got one.
Hello, thank you. I'd just like to know...
So weird. There it is.
I know.
So everyone's coming. Everyone's.
So we're getting your voice from the
Everyone lives in that little box.
Okay, well, look, I'd just like to know what you think the author of Dracula, Bram Stoker, would have thought of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and subsequent programmes. What do you think he'd have made of it?
He would have been jealous.
I'm beginning to agree with you.
It became. I mean, it was to me. I think Dracula was just very masculine, to where and that's the reason why Joss came up with Buffy. He was kind of done with the male-run vampire bullshit, or monster bullshit for that matter. Because essentially, Buffy wasn't a vampire show. It was a show about growing up and the monsters that we all have to face. Now ours were just literal monsters, but I think he would have liked it. I do. I think if he was in our modern times, I think if you were to take Bram Stoker now, put him in here, he'd be like, what the fuck? Wait, there's running water in a house? What's this electricity thing? You know what I mean?
I think so, but I think you're right. The vampire story from Buffy wasn't about growing up, about the things that you face, about the things that you face, but then I don't know if Dracula was masculine or not, because he came into the case.
Yeah, he was.
And he was...
He could have been very progressive, you're right, yeah. And he switched. And he suck. So the guy, yeah.
So they say.
I mean, I don't know, I never met Dracula. I mean the real Dracula.
Episode 16.
The real one. Vlad the Impaler. Come on, guys. That's where it came from. Philistines, I tell you.
We've actually got a question from backstage now.
You mean from that box right there?
Yeah. Tim, are you there? Yeah. Tim backstage wants to ask you a question.
Does Kim want a mic?
She's going to lean in and shout it at you.
Criminal Minds is wonderful. They were like, everyone, like each person has their own unique personality, and it's a family too. I mean, that's the thing about when you work. You become closer to those people than your blood family. For those however many years you're working together. I never worked with Mandy, but like Joe Montaigne is just an amazing individual. Goobs. I love the Goobs. Shamar is just pretty. He's a pretty man. Thomas is not as pretty as Shamar, but still not pretty, you know? And then Kirsten, so it's
basically ranked the tracks in terms of pretty.
and if I want to fuck him, yeah.
Next question.
It was a big ball of energy, man.
This isn't going hard.
No, of course not. It never does. I mean, it's so funny that people think I need to contain.
Nicholas, from the musical episode, Once More with Feeling, do you have a favourite song at all from that episode?
Yeah, it's called I'll Never Tell. You know it?
Yeah, I do. Apart from your own song.
No, there was a song, We Will Walk in the Fire. Yeah. Because, like, we were able to, I get chills when I think about it, but there was a song, I've Got a Theory. It's also really great because we also I loved it when we kind of all got up and then walked and sang at the same time. And I've Got a Theory, which is great because then we harmonized together and then we just kind of walked out and we were going to now start, attacking this thing. And then We Will Walk in the Fire, which is, I loved it because they actually had like the fire trucks go and it was all playback and I was just like, I would walk and I would sing and I'm like, oh God, I love that. And, it's hard to say. It's hard to put it into words. What? Which one do you want? I'll Never Tell. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Do you guys know it at all? Yeah. Okay, how's it start? Well, I know, she's easy that I can't describe. I lied, I said it's easy, I tried, but there's these fears I can't quell. Is she looking for a pot of gold? Well, her life becomes stressful if I'm never that successful. Am I crazy? Am I married? We can really raise the deep and make a marriage a hell. So God knows I'll never tell. There you go.
Of course, everybody can sing part in that can now say, well, of course, I do that.
Oh, yeah. It's not like I don't do other people, you know what I mean?
What's the All right, let's have another question. Sounds good now. We can get in the confidence up.
Let's say that every single fan has their favourite episode. One of my favourite of the Once More Feeling was it's very special to me. It's like at the time the episode aired over here, it's like my mum had just passed as well. I did walk in and find her dead as well, and that's why it holds something special to me. And it just brought the thought to my head, what were your favourite episodes to film, and what were your worst ones?
It's funny because The Body was one of my least favorite, because it was just so poignant. And Joss did such a great job of writing that episode that it brought up a lot of people who had lost parents. I'll Never Tell. There was one where we did where it was like the dream episodes where I did a scene from Apocalypse Now. Yeah, can I get up? My knees are hurting. Zeppo was one of my favorites to shoot. Well, that was just, again, nothing, or like the cheese, I don't wear the cheese wears me, you know what I mean? It's like, just be as avant-garde as possible, and that's how Joss is. It's like, there's certain things that just didn't make sense, for the reason of not making sense. It is a dream episode. The Pack I had a lot of fun shooting, just because it was my first episode, like Xanderific episode, and Buffy vs. Dracula. I really enjoyed playing Renfield. One of my favorite, yeah, because I did, because Xander had a lot of great lines, but I remember the one, and maybe it's just because I like masturbating humor, but when Renfield's like, oh, this will not please the master, Vader, and then it's like, and then I say something about the Dark Prince, Vader, we bring it around like that, yeah. But it was and the whole first season was magical too, because everything was just new. All 7 years were wonderful, and I missed it a lot. But Hush was, I knew that Hush was going to be a great episode just because when I saw those gentleman things, I was like, wow, you know? It wasn't necessarily fun to shoot, but I knew that it was going to be effective. Which is harder, actually. Because then you got to read the shit that's not, at least like with the dialogue, it's like, I know my cues. This is like, we're working off IQs right now, you know? So, I thought it'd be easier, but it was actually harder.
You were talking earlier about how, obviously, it's about basically growing up Buffy and getting through those teenage years. Do you find now that you still, obviously, just now, do you find you get a lot of people coming up to you saying it helped you through the time?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And that's why I love coming to these. I mean, not that if it didn't get through a rough time, I'm not going to talk to you, but yeah, but goddamn it, give me a tragic story, okay? It's nice to see how the show really affected people when they were done, and how many people they've said this show has like literally saved their lives.
Yeah, and continues to as well.
Yeah.
Right, have we got another question from the audience?
I just wanted to know if you still speak to anyone from Buffy and if you're still close with anyone.
I mean, we're going to always be close. Like, Ali and Sarah have their babies. I talked to Tony. He was actually going to be here, but then he's filming in South Africa. I see James a lot with these. Charisma I talk to. Emma not so much. And I was with Eliza in Germany last December. So, yeah. It's like you're always a family.
You mentioned before you were involved in writing the comics for season 10 and 11, and you mentioned the writing process. I was just wondering, as a writer, you meet up with Joss Turnbull, how much creative control do you guys as writers have, and how much of it is kind of Joss has an arc idea for where the story needs to go?
Well, I mean, he's so busy with the Avengers stuff right now, too, that I think Buffy's his respite. So it was just kind of like, that's a great idea, but where's Buffy in this equation, you know? And it's not just kind of like he's just being like a dick.
Is it intimidating? Because obviously not only is he a creator, but he's well known to being a great writer. Is it intimidating how, if he's got a suggestion, better take that on?
I mean, you know, I've known him since '96, you know, so it's kind of, I think, we kind of grew up together, we pissed each other off, you know, so I mean, we have a history. So, I mean, obviously, I'm the writer that I am today, or at least the idea man I am today, because I've been around Joss for the past 15 years of my life. So he's kind of in my DNA now, you know. I mean, and Xander, just playing Xander changed my life. I'd be a completely different person just from, I mean, Xander was a role model for me too, even though I was playing him and we were very much alike. I love that kid. So it's like, I mean, I can't even fathom like what my mindset would be like if I didn't play Xander. Like I let him get way deep into me.
Have you got any ideas, if you were to revisit the role in the future, have you got any ideas of where you'd like to
see him go?
Or a way you change or keep him the
You know, I wasn't, that's the thing, it's like I wasn't, the only thing that, I just didn't want him to be in construction, only because I don't look good in that yellow hat. And it's, you know? And I think that was one of Joss's punishments to me. That and losing my eye, I think. It's like, we can't, I have a story, it's like, we're going to kill Xander, but like, if Joss wanted to kill Xander, he would kill Xander. But the writer's like, no, you can't kill Xander. He's like, all right, he's going to lose his eye, man. You know, so, because he didn't tell me that I was losing my eye. I had to read it, and I'm like,
do I get it back?
Yeah. But that's one of the things, too, because I was talking to Christos about this, and about magic and about witches. And as a writer, I asked myself, like, do you find it's an easy cop-out to have a character that's a witch that can just kind of just change anything willy-nilly? Because that's how, you know, that is like, as a writer, that's a great thing to have. It's like, oh, it's not working out. Magic. You know, and I really try to stay away from it. So, like, I never was like, why hasn't Willow just grown Xander's eye back? I mean, really, why? We could. Yeah. So I just kind of, that's why I
have a little petri dish.
That's why I tend to stay away from witches.
Okay.
Don't marry them. Don't do anything with witches. Just stay away. Stay there. It's a big ball of energy, man, right in the middle.
It's going to be edited, Tyler.
By the way, I've never done LSD before. And I'm not a fan of mushrooms.
I've got a question. It's on the theme of monsters. If you wanted to play in any horror film, what film would you play?
Are there any kids here, by the way, up there? I apologize.
They've all left.
Alright, because I always have a disclaimer. If there are any kids here, please leave. Fuck off. And then at that point, you see all these people leaving. Yeah. A monster. Is there a monster that I would want to play? Or a horror movie? Okay. I don't know. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Just.
So there's different genres of films, like horrors and monster films. Any monster or horror film you'd like to play, or would you like to play a monster in any films or something?
I remember when I was a child. Horror films scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. I saw The Invisible Man, which I guess he did, and he wrapped himself up with and this is from the 1950s, and I'm like, oh, it's so spooky. So I really kind of stayed away from that genre. The first film I ever saw full through was a film called The Amityville Horror. And I was about 7 or 8 when I saw that movie. I just rewatched it a few years ago, and it's a joke. But when you're a kid and the walls are bleeding, I'm a very sensitive, scary cat when it comes right now.
Would it be difficult to be in a horror? Seeing as Buffy was so good at subverting the whole genre and changing around, would it be difficult now to go back and be in a straight horror film, as it were? Or would you be like, hey, why don't we just do this?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it's
cracking a joke here or something.
That's the thing. Yeah, and that's hard because it's I hope at some point I can do something that's half as good as Buffy, with the writing, because it's you can't just be horror. But one of the most effective films I've seen in that genre was a movie called The Orphanage, and I saw it twice in theaters. But it has to do a lot. I also saw that there was, when it gets into I'm not a big fan of CGI, so because the guy who did The Orphanage also produced another movie which I forgot what it was called. It was this mother who wanted their kids back. And
Mama.
Yeah, and it was very effective until we didn't have to see her. We've done that, haven't we? That creaky kind of The Ring thing. I think didn't Sarah do a movie? Then there was we've seen that for the last 15 years. Please come up with something different. And then, yes, that sound is scary, but we can come up with something else. So I was really into that until I saw. I don't need to. It's like Jaws. The reason why it was scary is because we never saw the fish. And they wanted to see that fish too, but it broke. You know what I mean? I wish sometimes the fish would break more often. And let our imagination do the work. Let our imagination. What's up here is scarier than what we're ever going to see.
Okay, next question then.
The fish should break more often.
Come on. This is why these things overrun. We're behind.
Going back to your ranking with Criminal Minds, are there any characters in Buffy that you would have liked to be romantically linked with?
Riley. No, not in a serious regular capacity. Because I kind of hit them all.
Sometimes in your imagination. I remember that final series with those young girls.
Yeah. So I hit them all. No, I think because Xander I think season 6, Joss and Sarah and I, we all sat down and Joss was asking our opinions on, you know, do you think that Xander and Buffy will get together at the end? What are your thoughts on it? And Sarah and I said, yeah, you know? And he was like genuinely asking. And we genuinely said, yeah, it was, you know, we could see that happening. And I just think Joss kind of realized that, or he seemed to realize that none of his characters, his main characters, will ever be happy in love. You know? Because it's like nobody was. You know, Buffy wasn't, you know, Willow was, you know, like Tara was killed. Giles, don't even touch Giles, because you know what I mean? I was going through breakups left and right, so like if you look at the core 4, no one was ever happy, and still not particularly happy in relationships.
Is that because it splits up the Scooby Gang?
I think it's whatever Joss is going through in his life romantically. That's one of the great things about being God. You know? It's, you know, and he, you know, and he's a little, you know, he puts words in your mouth and tells you how to feel. You know? And if you don't like it, you can give, you know. And if he doesn't like it, it's weird, man. It's strange. It's like, okay, you're dead. I mean, that's power. I'm gonna kill you. You're not gonna get a paycheck anymore. You know? People like paychecks.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question there, so let's make it a good one.
It was a big ball of energy, man.
Here we go. Final question.
When you're on stage and you don't like someone, how do you get along?
Shall I just go?
Like when you're working with somebody, you always find, okay. I have friends that are doing a show right now, and they're the 2 leads, and they literally don't talk to each other unless they're acting, which I couldn't do. I always either apologize or find something that I love about that person. Or even if it's character to character. Because actors are difficult. They really are. There's a lot of ego involved in it, so you have to kind of find something that you like about them or the character. But sometimes it is hard, and I've been there before too, and that's actually a great question. And if you ever get an honest answer out of any actor, I will applaud you.
That's a great one to end on, so thank you very much.
Thank you guys.